Just checking in for those of you that are on, we'll get started in 5 minutes. So we will just be staring at the screen for 5 more minutes. All right, for those of you watching, we have 2 more minutes and we'll get going. Thank you for joining this evening. We'll be with you shortly. We have Heidi waiting to go. Coach Voigt. All right, we just rolled on to 7 o'clock, so we'll get started. Welcome to the first installment of our digital event series for alumni and friends, Northern Now. Thank you for joining us this evening. A few housekeeping items before we jump into our guests and our panelists tonight in our interviews. We wanted to let you guys know that you as our audience members will not be seen or heard this evening. I am Jess Jones. I work with Wildcat Athletics and for the NMU Foundation, and I will be your host for this evening. And I am happy to present questions through the Q&A feature to our panelists tonight. So I'm going to say that again and show it on the screen. Use the Q&A function for asking questions to our coaches or giving feedback. And you use the chat function to speak and talk amongst yourselves. So again, the Q&A function is for asking questions. I'll be taking time throughout each interview to check the question box. And we hope to have questions that you bring in for each of our coaches. So thank you. So thank you again and welcome. One last item, save the date. I want to make sure to mention we have 2 more upcoming series to round us out through the end of the calendar year. Next month on November 11th with Fritz Nelson. That'll be a fun talk. And then December 9th, our new executive chef at NMU, Alden, will be showing us some cooking classes there. So those will be a lot of fun. So make sure you mark your calendar. All right. So I'm going to stop screen sharing and welcome our first panelists and guests, our head swim and dive coach, Heidi. Thank you for joining us, Heidi.
Yeah, love to.
Great. All right. So we can hear Heidi and hopefully my screen isn't frozen. I will apologize in advance for any technical difficulties. Thank you for bearing with us. My screen seemed to be freezing, especially during our rehearsals. But we know you're not here to see me. You're here to see the coaches. So we'll just keep that in mind. So thanks again for bearing with us, everybody. All right, Heidi. So let's play a game where we pretend like people don't know you really well. Can you tell us a little bit about your background, how you landed here at NMU, and a little bit of a short bio?
Yeah, I grew up in Montana, and I ended up swimming for University of Washington in Seattle. And I pretty much spent most of my life on the West Coast there. Went from coaching at Wyoming and New Mexico State, and then looking for assistant coaches there and looking for a head job. And I was applying a couple places and applied here, and it just looked really interesting. I had a great conversation, phone interview. And I will tell you, after my phone interview, I had to get out the map and look it up and go, where is this place? And when my husband and I flew in, and just flying in already, looking at all of the just gorgeous country, I just knew that, oh my gosh, this is a great place to be. And yeah, I was warned by Steve Reed and that if I got the job, that it would be all of a sudden 30 years later and I wouldn't leave. And I'm starting my 11th season, so he's almost right.
Wow, I can't believe it's been 11
yeah,
seasons.
I can't believe it either.
Well, we're so glad that you're here with us at NMU. So tell us, Heidi, about your assistant coaches.
Yeah, so we have associate head coach Matt Williams, and he has been with us for 7 years. So when I first got here, it was a women's team. And then after 5 years, they reinstated the men's team, which we were really excited about. And I know we had a lot of alumni men that were super excited about that too. So when that happened, I was able to hire another assistant, and Matt is from the area, and he just, we were already colleagues talking about swimming all the time. You kind of gravitate to those people that can talk your language in the community. And so I love talking swimming and technique and a whole bunch of stuff with him. And so it was a pretty easy decision. And he's just been amazing. He coaches our sprint group, and he's our recruiting coordinator as well. So he's been a big part of how our team has advanced for sure. And we have our diving coach is Connor Dorff, and this is starting his 4th season. And, I think that's key to any successful team is that consistency in coaching for sure. And he's been doing a great job. Every year he's had an All-American diver. So it's just been really wonderful to have these guys, and we have such a good system going. Really lucky.
Nice. That's great. Well, yes, you guys have had so much success, especially a couple of recent seasons here for sure.
Yes.
So before we get too much further, of course, we kind of, we're all sick of talking about it, but we have to talk about the COVID elephant in the room. And so please tell us, how has your team, whether it's since March or just since like over the summer, how have you guys adjusted? What has this meant for your team? Have you kind of had business as usual, or have you had to adjust training schedules? Fill us in on how your landscape has changed.
Yeah, so it is interesting. There's been some things that feel almost business as usual, but a lot of other things, we're working with it and doing the best we can. We had to wait, a few weeks to get started, just trying to make sure we were gonna had things in place and had a good plan going forward. And we weren't sure what competitions were going to look like. The GLIAC hadn't made their decision yet. So there was, of course, a lot of question at the beginning, but the team came back and they were pretty excited. The one thing it's been really fun to see is, people have this sport in their life. So many people on our team have been swimming since like they can, earliest they can remember, from like 8 years old. And so to have that kind of taken away at that moment, and some of them not being able to swim for 4 months, which for swimming, a 2-week break is long. They're just kind of those people that swim all the time. And I think they really came back with an appreciation and enjoyment. We talked a lot about celebrating, we get to swim today. We just started taking one day at a time, saying we get to practice today. And that was a great moment. So it was kind of fun at the beginning to be able to get together when we couldn't before. But, we're doing some different things. Our divers wear their masks when they're doing their stretching and dry land stuff. And, our swimmers have their masks on when they're not in the water. We're kind of lucky actually to be a sport that the virus can't survive in chlorine. And so we really are kind of lucky that way, that I think we have a pretty, somewhat safe environment as compared to some other sports.
Mm-hmm.
So that we are lucky that way. But, I sent you a couple pictures. We've done a couple things. We went on a team hike, and I don't know if you have that one, and everybody has a mask on. One of my concerns was, how are we going to bond together? Because for me, I think that's really important. Our season's one of the longest seasons, and you have to rely on each other. And how are we going to get to know each other when you can't see their face and you can't tell that senior smiling at a freshman, but we've really worked hard at it, and they've done a really good job. So it's coming together for sure.
Great. So you mentioned those photos, and I would love to share them now.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're in the order that you had mentioned, so I'll just go.
They might not be, but
yeah,
if you want to pull them up, and I can just talk about some too. Yeah.
That's great. I'll share those, and then you can just talk about them in the order that they're showing.
Sure. Okay. Yeah. So I submitted some pictures that kind of talked about what we were doing with COVID, and then kind of talked about some highlights of last season. This is one of my favorite pictures. This is our men's 800 free relay from last year. And since the men have been reinstated, we have won that relay every year at conference. And this was a bigger year where kind of a couple key people weren't on that relay that had graduated. And so to come in and they won again by a lot. So it's a cool moment to be 5-time GLIAC champion in that relay. So that's what that one is.
Do you want to name the student athletes?
Yeah, I will. So the one you can see the most of his face is Jonas Reinhold, and he graduated. Yep, he's a senior. And the one behind or next to him that we see is back, that's Yvonne, and he's a sophomore. So definitely have some returning talent. And then the next one's Liosh, and he's still in town, but he's graduated. So we're going to miss his talent. And then our fourth one is John Bussey, who's one of our captains, and he's a junior from Minnesota. So he's still around too. So we're hoping we have a couple people that are going to take place of those senior boys and get the job done. So
returners for sure. Yeah. Great. All right. Here's another photo.
So this was, I would tell you, this was such an amazing moment. It's been something, my goal ever since I got here to get a conference championship. And this year, for the first time, the women won. And we had kind of a heartbreak the year before. The men had just missed it by 30 points, which is not very much. And the women came in this year and just dominated from the first day on. They just kept gaining and gaining and gaining. It was such an exciting moment to have that. And our conference is one of the top conferences in Division II. So everyone at our conference meet has people or a pretty significant team going to nationals. So it's a battle all the time. And that was just a really, really exciting moment for us.
Awesome. Congrats again. That's so exciting.
Thank you.
All right, next photo.
So this was the tradition in swimming is when you win, you get to jump in the pool. So that was a pretty cool moment. And I put this in there because you see Forrest. Yeah. You know, you'd asked me earlier, what I love about Marquette and coaching here at NMU. And one of the things for sure is the support by the administration. I think Forrest had been watching every day. And when it looked like we were going to win, he drove from Marquette down to Saginaw and watched the finals, jumped in with us, and turned around and drove back all in one day. And so it was a fun moment. I do feel like we get the support we need to be successful.
So that's the tradition. Instead of like dumping the Gatorade, you jump in the pool.
That is the swimming tradition, but I will tell you, unbeknownst to me, I had two men that asked me to come over and talk to them, and they dumped the Gatorade on me too. So
you got all of it.
I got all of it. Yeah.
Good.
But I loved every second of it.
Yes, I was gonna say, well worth it. For
Yes.
Sure. All right, here's another one.
Yeah, so this was one of our most dominant events. We went 1, 2, 3 in the women's 200 fly and 7. And so I'll tell you, winning was now sophomore Chell Font, and second place is now a senior, Gabby Spagic.
Mm-hmm.
And third place is Michaela Nelson, who is from Wisconsin, and she is a sophomore. And then now senior, 7th place is Casey Clark. So that was just a really cool. We've never had an event that we want 1, 2, 3 good sweep.
Yeah, and all returning.
Yes.
Very exciting.
All returning, every one of them. Yeah.
Very cool. All right. Another photo. So this kind of brings us maybe to the current school year.
Yes, exactly. So this was taken actually last weekend. One of the things that we take pride in as our team is, giving back to the Marquette community that definitely supports us. And one of the things we did, and I put some pictures in because we always have our masks on, but we were packing PPE kits for Forever Friends for some seniors that maybe don't have loved ones around during the holidays, and they deliver food. And so we're packing like some hand sanitizer and some gloves and some different things. But I put that in there because this is what our team activities look like, kind of, we're, all masked up and hard to tell who's smiling, but we're getting to read eyes better and better for sure.
Yep, for sure. There's another one.
And there's another one. So I put this in there. This is a tradition that we do. Everybody has their name on their locker, but we have a tradition where our incoming freshmen have to earn their nameplates. And so when we start practicing, I'll have a returner that says, I would like to give, this is Thibaut, he's from France, his nameplate. And so Connor, he is from Texas. He's one of our other captains, Connor Graydon. He's a junior. Presented him with his nameplate. And so it's just kind of a picture. As soon as they get out, they put on their mask. But it's nice that, we are we're bonding and coming together and still doing some of the traditions that we have.
And I know, Heidi, this photo reminds me with the flags in the background, your team is always one that has such diversity from global diversity. Do you know how many different countries are represented on your team this year?
I'm going to count the flags.
I was going to say in the past it's been like 14 or something.
Yeah, I don't know off the top of my head. We do have 2 flags up because we have 2 people on our team that have dual citizenship. We have someone that's also a citizen of the Philippines, so they could potentially swim for the Philippines national team, that kind of thing. But yeah, we have Brazil and France, Czech Republic, few from Spain, Germany, Lithuania, and Iran and Italy. It just makes it so fun on the team, and they bond, and the diversity just makes it really, really great atmosphere.
Yeah, it's really cool. I'm sure they all learn a lot from each other.
Yes, they do.
All right. I think this might be our final photo.
Yeah, now's the final one. That was just a socially distanced hike that we did to the top of the world. Just again, another kind of picture of this is our life right now. And anytime we go somewhere, they have their masks on, and they all drove in different cars, like with their roommates or whatever. And this is kind of our life, but we're making the best of it, and not afraid to get out and socially distance and do the right thing, but be careful about doing it. So
yep, do it safely.
yeah.
All right, I'm gonna stop
Yeah.
sharing here. I'm gonna take a moment just to remind everybody, if people joined on late, we can't see or hear any audience members tonight. So if you do have a question for either of our coaches or panelists, you can use the Q&A function that's at the bottom of your screen. The chat function is for talking amongst yourselves, seeing who's out there this evening. And again, you are on the Northern Now digital event series for NMU alumni and friends. So thanks for joining us. We are with Coach Heidi Voigt, head swim and dive coach for NMU. Heidi, you kind of talked about it earlier. One of my questions was, what was your favorite part of coaching at NMU? One of your favorite parts you mentioned was getting to work with me. No.
Yes, of course.
I think you said the athletic administration, but what's another favorite part of coaching?
Well, I think, that goes the administration goes hand in hand with faculty and staff. I, so appreciative. I think President Erickson's done a great job handling everything. I just hear from some of my other coaching colleagues that can't even get in or can't even meet with their team. Or, there was a school, Westchester, has a pretty good swim team, and they just canceled all sports for the year. So being where we are, I'm just so appreciative of everything that everybody's doing, so we can give these athletes, student athletes, an experience, right? They came to Northern, we got them here, and we want to get their degree and give, especially our seniors, try to give them, that experience in their last year. But, working with faculty has always been great. Right now we're doing our grade reports, and I love getting notes that says, oh, you're a student athlete, just is great to have in class, a pleasure. And so that's always fun too. And, the students, I think people who come to Northern are, want to be active and outdoors, and that's all the stuff that we love to do. And we're about team and working together, and those are the kind of people that we get, and they're just make me happy every day coming. So I'm lucky to work with them.
Nice. So now let's talk about the team this year. I know we got to see some great highlights from last year, and we obviously heard that you have some returning talent. So how are things shaping up for this year? And obviously, again, for those who might not know, we got called off fall sports. So will that mean you will have competitions, fingers crossed, hitting the second term or the winter term for us? So looking ahead, when would be your first official competition, or when are you planning for it thus far, and how is the team looking?
Yeah, so I will tell you again, Matt's done a great job recruiting, and super excited about our team. I think the women easily could repeat. So
cool.
Knock on wood, we're pretty excited about that. And I think our men were really poised to do some pretty good stuff at NCAAs. And so for people that don't know, we were the only division that started the NCAA championships, but our meet championships is a 4-day meet, and they canceled it like a day and a half in. So we'd done one day and then prelims, and we were actually coming back for finals when they said, nope, go home. And so that was a hard moment for sure. And I think we had people that were really ready to go. But, I'm excited. They've I think that our team looks really strong. So right now, as it stands for the GLIAC, we can't have any competitions till after January 1st. So on our schedule, our first meet was after the new year is January 9th. UW Green Bay is scheduled to come here. So I talked with them this week. It sounds like that's still a go, and we're hoping that's the first meet, January 9th here at the meet. I will tell you, most likely we'll try to have like a live feed, because with social distancing, we probably won't be able to have any spectators.
Yeah.
So we'll have to keep everybody pretty far apart and evenly spaced. So, but I'm really hoping that that's our first meet. I think I'll find out tomorrow. Maybe we have a GLIAC coaches Zoom meeting tomorrow, and we might find out more about when our championships are and where they're going to be. I know that they were scheduled to be at Jenison High School downstate, and I don't think the high school is having any external rentals for the school year, and their pool is by far amazing. They have a great pool, so we were really set up to swim fast. And one of the reasons you want that is those are the times generally you get to go to nationals. You want to qualify, so you in a fast pool and get over to nationals. So hopefully we'll find out more about that. Right now, nationals has been not officially, but they're voting to move it back a week. So I think around March 17th week, I think, and is what they're talking about, and it needs to be officially passed. But that's kind of the outlook right now. We'll try to squeeze in a couple more meets before that all happens. But you know, like everybody, it's hurry up and wait, and everybody's waiting for decisions. So, but I will tell you, the team's been really patient, and they're, again, excited to be in practice. We are doing the Coaches Association, the College Coaches Association has put together this 6-week virtual competition where we're going to swim events in our pool and then send in the results, and they'll rank us, with D1 teams and D3 teams.
That's cool.
So we'll get to kind of swim against all these people in the country, and you know, we'll see who signs up. I think right now there was about 17 to 20 teams across the country signed up to do this week.
Yeah.
And I think they're excited about that. So
yeah, well, and it's always fun to hear like people are being creative during this time too, and like doing things outside the box. I mean, again, all of us have really gotten used to being on Zoom and, you know, video conferencing and all that. Heidi, we have a few questions coming in. So one is from a person I know, and she sent a question in. And I was going to joke and say that this could be a whole other webinar, I'm sure, but what does it mean when you say a fast pool? So I'll let you explain.
I kind of thought that might happen, but so there's a lot of, you got to put on your physics hat. And I will tell you, Matt should be here because he's the engineer. He can explain it a lot better. But there's a few things. Like one thing is you want a pool that's about 9 feet deep. And some of the faster pools are 9 feet deep all the way across, because as you swim, you generate waves and they can go down. Like our pool is 4 feet deep and they could go down and come back up and cause resistance or drag or waves you have to swim through. So that's one of the things. Another one could be in the gutters. So let's say you're in lane 8, which maybe next to the wall, and you're swimming the 50 free with a whole bunch of big college guys, though they create big waves. I'm sure everybody's seen the Olympics, and if you watch a 50 free, those guys hit the wall and the waves just go. And so if you're swimming, those waves can like bounce off the wall and come back at you.
Yeah.
So if you have gutters that let the waves like go over and not hit the wall, so that's another thing that can be a fast pool. Lane lines can make a fast pool if you have smaller, guess like donut things on your lane lines versus now we have really good lane lines. They're 6 inches. So they call them wave breakers. So then the wave kind of gets stopped. So if somebody's swimming, they can't create as big a wave to you. So there's a lot of different things, you know, having good blocks and, you know, how the walls are, these little things. But when you're looking at, there's a lot of times you can miss nationals by 2/100ths of a second.
Yep.
A lot of that stuff counts. Yeah.
I keep saying, like I know what you're talking about. Mostly because I watched the Olympics.
There it is.
Like one of my favorite things, and learned about the fast pool last time I watched the Olympics. And
there you go.
Also, I was just saying, but yeah.
So when you watch, you know, look at it's pretty much it'll be 9 feet the whole way.
Yeah. Yeah, that was the one where the last Summer Olympics pool it was like built in the middle.
And you know what? They're doing that a lot.
Like built
That
on
is,
like a just
yeah.
regular ground.
Oh, that's really common. I actually went to a short course world championships in the arena that the Indiana Pacers play. They just put up the pool.
Yeah.
And they took it down.
See, we could do it in the
It was so cool because you're sitting there like, yeah, in this arena and the pool's in the middle. Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. Awesome. Well, Heidi, let's end with maybe a final question. Let me do one more. If anybody has any questions, thank you, Lisa, for asking the question. I think that's really interesting too. If anybody else has any final questions, I'll give you a moment to ask. Otherwise, I see some people are saying who they are, where they're from on the chat, which is great. So share your whereabouts and who you are and the year you graduated on the chat. Otherwise, like I say in the Q&A, that's where you ask questions. Let's leave it with what is one final message you have for your swim and dive fans for the year.
Well, the first thing I want to say is thanks for all the support. We have an amazing group of alumni that's always reaching out, and we get messages after we did so well at conference. And I was actually just talking with one of our alumni men today, Dave Bradshaw, on the phone, and always touching in. They're always watching, and I think that means a lot to the team too, to really know, it's not just for them, it's for these names that are on the wall and different, people that came before you and what you're representing. So I think that means a lot for sure. But yeah, thanks for everything, because I know it means a lot to them.
Awesome. Heidi, thank you so much. This was so fun. Just like a chat between you and me. That's all this was.
Totally. That's all it was. Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here. Heidi's going to sign off. Thanks, Heidi. See you. And again, I'm going to jump back to sharing my screen and going to hopefully maybe one more slide here. Just a reminder to follow the Alumni Association on social. We are now going to welcome Coach Grant Potulny. Thank you, Grant, for being with us. You are on the second interview. If you're just joining us again, we cannot see or hear the audience. If you have questions for Grant, please ask in the Q&A feature, and the chat is talk amongst yourselves. So now I'm going to stop sharing. I have to talk myself through these technical items. Grant, all right, and we will welcome Grant Potulny, head hockey coach for the Wildcats. Thanks for joining us, Grant.
Hi, Jess. Good to see you.
Hello. All right, so Grant, I'm going to give you the same pop quiz that I gave to Heidi. Again, a little bit of background, a short bio. Tell us about yourself and how you landed at NMU.
Sure. Interestingly enough, I think I'll start with my decision to play college hockey. I'm from Grand Forks, North Dakota, which is where the University of North Dakota is at. Their bitterest rival would be the University of Minnesota. So they would be like somebody from Houghton coming to play for Northern. So, and when I went to Minnesota, I was the first player from outside of the state in like 25, 26 years or something. So it was a little bit of a controversial deal. There were some purists that probably weren't that excited that I was coming because Minnesota had been very successful. Luckily enough for me, we ended up winning a couple of national championships when I was there. So that helped ease the pain a little bit for some of them.
I'm sure you're welcome.
Upon graduation, I turned pro, signed with the Ottawa Senators, and was played 6 or 7 years pro, and was married and had some kids, and kind of started thinking like, what's next for me in life? Where do I go from here? And at the time, we had a great life. We were living on Virginia Beach and Virginia on this beautiful home. It was interesting because they're these like multi-million dollar homes that they couldn't rent in the off season. So during the summer, they're like, I don't know, probably 50 grand a month. I mean, guys had elevators in them, and it was nuts. And we were getting these homes for really cheap. So we're living in this beautiful home right in the beach. And I just kind of was like starting to think about life and where do I go from here. And I decided I was going to retire and move to the Twin Cities, at a job set up. And in that transition phase, I got a call from the coaches at Minnesota, and they kind of talked me into coming to be their volunteer coach. And to be honest, I mean, it's funny now to say this, but at that time, they had to talk me into it. I wasn't that excited about it. I was ready to move on and get in the workforce. And from the time that they asked me to come volunteer to the time I actually got back to Minneapolis, the assistant coach at that time was Mike Hastings, who's now the head coach at Minnesota State Mankato. He left Minnesota for a different job. And there was like all these recruiting opportunities coming up, and they were going through the process of, okay, we got to hire somebody, but for this 2-month period, we'll pay you full time. Will you be full time? Maybe you can start your job in 2 months. And I said, I talked to the people I was going to work for, his financial job, and I said, yeah, they're okay, and I'll do it. And literally within 2 weeks, I fell in love, and I was like, this is what is my calling. And by the end of it, I was begging them for the job instead of them begging me to come, and it worked out. And I ended up coaching there for 8 years. And along that time frame, the first couple of years, just trying to get your feet wet and understand recruiting and how does this league compare to this league compared to a high school player, because they're all different, and you're kind of trying to figure out your coaching chops and how you interact with the players, what responsibilities you're going to have. If these are your responsibilities, which mine were the forwards and the power play and academics and recruiting and some of those things, how do you do that to the best of your ability? And after about 5 or 6 years, I felt very comfortable in all those roles. And I had a conversation with the head coach and said, I think I'm ready for more responsibility. And he said, well, I would agree. But he said, unfortunately, here I can't give you any more. I have to be the head coach and I have to keep these responsibilities, and the other coach has things he has to do. So, if you're looking for that, it's probably time that you start opening yourself up to some head coaching positions. And I had conversations with a couple different programs, but what I always felt was you only get one chance to do this. And I wanted to go somewhere that had tradition, somewhere I thought you could win, somewhere where there's support. So a couple of these other opportunities, I didn't think you could do that. And when this job opened up, I remember we had just lost in the NCAA tournament. And, I had like that night to get my application. And so I got it in kind of the last second and came up here with my wife. And as much of a hockey town that Marquette is, for whatever reason, I just never been here. I did play the Bantam team in the national championship when I was 15. So I did play Marquette, but I'd never been here. So we came up and, at that time it was April. And as we all know, it's probably about the only time that we don't show very well.
Yeah.
Right. Because usually if it snows, if you live in a city where you get some snow, but not a ton, that snow can look dirty because they're cleaning the roads and there's salt but we have enough snow that when we bring kids on recruiting trips, it doesn't matter to us if it's January, if it's February, because it looks beautiful. Yeah. And then obviously the summers speak for themselves. So came up and, really enjoyed the interview and enjoyed my interaction with Dr. Erickson and Forrest. And, that's 4 years ago. And now we're moving forward. So, that was, for us, it was, we didn't know what we didn't know before we got here, but I did know that there was tradition and history and passion, and then Wildcat hockey had been very successful. So that was what attracted me to the job.
Yeah. So that is a fun fact that I learned about you that I didn't know, is you didn't set out to be a coach. You had set out just on your path as a hockey player, and then was finishing and kind of fell into it a little bit more. Yeah. That's interesting. And that's what actually, because I get to work with some of the coaches, and I think I've said this about you too, is all the coaches here at NMU have such great, every time we have conversations, I get off the phone and I'm I'm psyched, I'm ready. You all just have that natural ability to project and get people excited. And so I think that's such a natural talent of yours. So it's so surprising, picturing you as a financial planner. I think I'd have been
I probably made a good choice.
Let's invest.
I would have been bored so fast. Yes, I would have been.
Yeah, you would have been. So that's good. Well, good. We're glad you ended up here. So Grant, again, just like Heidi, I'm going to let's just step right into it. What have we been doing since March? What has it meant? Obviously a season cut short, different things for the conference. Tell us how it's going.
It's been a really interesting summer for hockey because we kind of had a feeling that that a lot of it was going to hinge on Big Ten football. And, you know, as you look at the Division I landscape, that was the first thing kind of coming. And there's a lot of optimism all summer that we were going to move forward. And I think, to be honest, even nationally, kind of towards the end of July, I think, at least I felt nationally we were in a pretty good place. And then as you crept into August, I think a lot of concerns started happening. And whether, you know, school starting, you know, the virus was moving and growing. And, you know, I think that parlayed right into the Big Ten decision not to play football. And, you know, that was a major blow to a lot of athletes because they were in our kind of landscape. You know, that's kind of the biggest thing. And no disrespect to basketball or any other sport, but Big Ten football is what kind of drives the bus for us at our level. And when they didn't decide to play, that got really tough for us. And, you know, it kind of put us in a holding pattern. And but we still knew at some point that, you know, hey, maybe we're going to play because we're a winter sport. So we came back to school, and I know Heidi touched on this, but like I hope, you know, that I say this right, because it is the level of professionalism and it just work that's been put in by Dr. Erickson and the board of trustees and the athletic department and everybody, like, is astonishing. If you look at what's going on nationally, astonishing.
Yeah.
You know, like there are, maybe 5% of the campuses went back in person on time, and of those 5%. The ones that have stayed in person full time, that number's even smaller. It's just incredible. So we come back, and the first couple of weeks, obviously, we're just concerned with getting through. You know, that, you know, is there going to be a surge when school starts? And this is non-athletic stuff. This is just, are we going to get through this as a university and kind of come through with flying colors? So then, you know, we athletically, you know, we haven't been canceled yet. We're the only sport on campus that hasn't been postponed, canceled. We know internally we're going to be postponed, but we haven't been canceled. So we have to start getting on the rink and start doing some things to be prepared for the moment that we can play. So, you know, I don't know how many guys skated, how many guys didn't, you know, what kind of access they have to ice at home. You know, some guys stayed in town, they didn't have any access to ice. So for the first probably 3 weeks, we split the team up into 3 groups, and just really the only thing, and it was skill-based stick works and edge work and stuff. But to be honest, the only thing I was concerned about was their soft tissue. You know, how are their groins going to take this? How is their hip going to take it? Abs. So we really, really took it slow. After 3 weeks, and I should preface this, before we even had a thought of getting guys back on campus or in the rink to do some athletic related activities, we created a plan, and every sport did this. You know, and our plan, and we were directed this by the athletic department. What we did in hockey is we said, from the moment they get out of their car till the moment that they leave the rink, where are they going to walk? Where's their water bottle going to go? Where are they going to get dressed? How are we going to coach them? How are we going to distance? So that plan, I think, is why partially we've had so much success athletically with the virus. So we went 3 weeks of just 3 different groups. Then we kind of shortened it down into 2 groups, got half the team out there, started doing some more things. And then as of this is week 2 of having our full team out. So now we're kind of moving forward, and we're preparing to play, which we will be fairly soon.
That's great. And I assume the guys were working like over the summer, doing their own dry land, own training. They were moving, but you still wanted to ease them in so that there wasn't any injuries.
They were doing things, but okay. The hard thing is, like, if you took our state, every gym was closed. Rink is closed. So, you know, what I did before we left in the spring is I broke the guys up into, I called them platoons. I gave them 5 platoons, and every platoon had a lieutenant. So that lieutenant was he was going to check in with his platoon every week. And hey, what'd you guys do to work out this week? And hey, did you run hills? Did you go for a jog? Did you do push-ups? Did you do wall sits? How long did you wall sit? And then he would take his 5 members of his platoon and report to the other lieutenants. And it just, kind of kept people on their toes and kept them engaged with each other. And, like I thought that guys really enjoyed that. But again, you just don't know how much they could or couldn't do. So I really had to be careful with them. But
I thought I saw some running around town this summer though. So they did something.
Yeah, no, they were. I mean, but to the level that you would normally do,
Yeah.
just challenging.
It's different. Yep. Good deal. All right. Switching gears a little bit. Tell us about your coaching staff.
Rob Lettinen is from Marquette, played at Northern, has been working at Northern before I got the job for 5 or 6 years. And Rob is in charge of recruiting. And when I say in charge of recruiting, he's kind of the guy who organizes the recruiting meetings on Monday. He's the guy who probably is out recruiting the most, but everybody recruits. All 3 coaches recruit. That is the lifeblood of your program. You have to have players, and Rob does a really good job kind of sticking players into groups so that somebody else can get eyes on them, whether it's Byron or Rob or myself. And then Byron Poole is the associate head coach that came here with me. Byron's from Saskatchewan. I had known him when he was coaching in Fargo, but I didn't know him that well. And through the process of hiring assistant coaches, I wanted to sit down with a lot of people that I respected and some people that I got recommended. And within 5 minutes of sitting down with Byron, we were in Florida for the coaches convention. He just blew my hair back. And I was like, woo, like Heidi said, you're speaking my language. Byron, you're speaking my language. But I wanted to be careful. I wanted to go slow. And so there was probably a 5-6 week courting process. And Byron's now here and he's been phenomenal. He's one of the most sought after assistant coaches in all of college hockey. 2 teams tried to hire him away from us last year. So he's doing very well. I'm very blessed with 2 great coaches. Jeff Cornock's our director of hockey operations and Dooley does the equipment position. And again, blessed. Jeff was here when I got the job. And Megan DeChambeau is our trainer, and Megan is lights out. I mean, she gets guys healthy and back on the rink as quick as anybody. So I'm really fortunate that I got a great staff.
Great. I'm going to take us in a little different order than Heidi. So what I want to talk about next is looking ahead. We're coming up on this year. How is the team looking? Standouts? What might we expect when we do see them on the ice, which we will? So what are we thinking for this year?
Well, I think it's important to go back to the timing of when I got hired the first year. And this is by no fault of anybody. This is just how it works when coaches get hired. By the time I got the job, there weren't a lot of players that were available that you probably would be excited about recruiting. So our senior class is Joe Nardi. That was here from the beginning. And Joe's our captain. Rob committed Joe. And Joe stuck with Rob and stuck with the program through not knowing who the coach was, a long period of trying to figure that out. So Joe has been the one player been here the whole time. So that kind of bleeds us into our junior class, which is like our first recruiting class. And those guys have been very successful. They've done very well. So, like Joe Nardi's our captain, been a great player. Ben Newhouse we got as a defenseman, we got as a transfer. And, the way Ben can skate and make a play, and Joe's energy, Griff Locker. And Griff led the conference in scoring as a sophomore last year. I bet you since the formation of the new WCHA, that's never happened. Griff's an elite player. We got a player named David Kiefer who couldn't play last year, transfer from Michigan State. Vincent DeMay, AJ Vanderbeck, they can really shoot a puck. So now we got a mix of players. Tanner Vesio looks like he's got a chance to make a lot of money in this game as a defenseman. Mike Van Unen's now another year older. Hank Sorensen's a year older. Those guys are all defensemen. Nolan Kent's coming back off a year where it was essentially his freshman year because he didn't get to play. He was behind Ate, and now he's got a challenger and Connor Reichman. And Connor is a transfer from Stevens Point, who in Division III hockey Connor was actually committed to Boston University, and there was a snafu on his transcript that his high school missed, so he ended up missing the core courses requirement by half a credit. So, by no fault of his own, he was deemed ineligible to go to Boston University. So then Duluth tries to recruit him. 2 great programs. Duluth ran into the same thing. So Connor went to a Division III school, and in his 2 years there, he's 36-0, didn't lose a game, and won the national championship. So he's going to contend for ice. We're in a spot, Jess, where as a coach, what you want is depth. You want competition. You want guys to be on their toes. We're in a spot now where I don't have to create any of that. That's just naturally, guys look around the room and there's good players. There's going to be good players not playing. And that's when you know you got a good team. I think teams that have inconsistency, they rely so heavily on their top players that they don't have players at the bottom of the lineup. And if some of those guys don't play well, maybe they're just better than the guys who aren't playing, so they get to continue to play. That's not the case anymore. Now it's if you want to play, you better practice hard, you better play well, you better perform, you better execute, you better be a great student, be a great person, because there's just no room for you to have error. And that's kind of the hallmark of a successful program. So I really like where we're at. We're moving through some things. We have a few inconveniences with state mandates and things like that we're working through. But like I've said to the guys, they're inconveniences. Like that's it. And you bring your own attitude to the rink every day. If they say you wear a mask, you wear a mask. But it's better than the alternative of not playing. So when you wake up tomorrow, you come with a great attitude, whether mask on or mask off, wherever our mandate is, and we're going to compete because we're here to play and we're here to compete, and it's just another piece of equipment. Unfortunately, it affects a little bit of how you can get your legs and lungs running. We're getting better at that. And this week, last week, if you would have asked me, I would have said, I love our players. I'm not sure if I like our team yet. Now I can say that about both of them, and obviously the players are the most important part. But we just couldn't get moving yet because it was just hard to get past that governor a little bit of where we were. And we're getting better with it. So I really like where we are. I mean, it's going to be a tough league though, as a coach, and over the summer, you try to prepare for, teams you're going to face and who's going to be good and who you got to, kind of prepare for. And, typically if you said there's a team returning 85 goals, you'd say, wow, they're picked to be number one. What a great, and that's rare that somebody has that many goals. There's 4 programs returning almost 100 goals in our league, us being one of them. And one of the teams that's outside of that is Minnesota State Mankato, who's won the league the 3 years that I've been in the league. We've been the second best team in the league over those 3 years. They've been the best. So they're going to be good. So there are a lot of good teams in our league this year.
All right, we do have a question from our crowd here, and I don't even know if Grant knows the answer to this one yet, but so we're going to have games. We hope we'll have games. We're planning to have games. Do you imagine if fans will be there or not, or limited fans was the question? I
think the idea is still limited fans, but our league schedule starting on January 1. Mm-hmm. That's right around the corner of being announced, but there is going to be games before that. So, trying to be creative for our fans and for our community, and that there's in the WCHA, there's a contract with Flow Sports to do the live streaming. Mm-hmm. Well, we have a TV deal that supersedes that with Michigan Tech. So as you see TV6 playing those games, we are going to try play Michigan Tech as many times as we can before the season starts, so that even if there's limited amount of fans, you can still watch 4 of those games, 2 of those games, however many we can work out from home before the year starts, so that you don't miss out on seeing games.
That makes sense. And I'm sure the fans understand ultimately the goal is to keep playing the games and keep playing the games safely, fans or no fans. But if we have the option for TV streaming, that'll help, obviously.
Yep. We'll stream every game for sure. Obviously, TV is more convenient, and and who knows where the fans are going to be. That maybe we just keep moving that number higher and higher.
Yep, let's hope for sure. All right, moving on. So now, actually, what we're going to do is we're going to talk about a project that you and I, Grant, have been working on with a few others. Something super exciting, and it was publicly announced. And if you watch the Arts and Athletics Showcase that the Alumni Association shared on homecoming weekend, there is a clip of a project. It is an update to the locker room and the coaches suite and the team room for the hockey team that we are going to show and talk to you guys about. So now Kylie from the Alumni Association is going to share a clip from the Arts and Athletic Showcase that will talk about the project that now after this we'll talk to Grant about. So Kylie, take it away. I think this will work. It might be a little blurry, but
the hockey game last year, that barn was on fire. I enjoyed every one of those games, the cheering, the excitement. The 2019-2020 team actually reached 15th in the nation.
And now here to tell you more about NMU hockey is Coach Grant Potulny.
You know, every young person in today's world, whether you're an athlete or you're a student or you're working a job, there's so many things that have become, you know, an inconvenience, I guess is the best way to put it. It's affected your life. You know, for our players, their responsibility socially has allowed them to start getting back to the rink. And now that we've been able to skate and move forward a little bit, I think that you see the excitement of where this team can go. And again, it's still part of a process. There's things that we have to do socially to continue to go the right direction, but having the ability to compete, measure yourself against somebody, and get back to things that you identify yourself with has been really helpful for the group. COVID has obviously affected, you know, the process of the locker room. And if you go back to March of last year, the plan was to get going in May, right at graduation. We were gonna have a ceremony, start the locker room, start the office. And it was gonna, to be honest, it probably would have pushed into the season a little bit because it's such a big project. Well, obviously all plans got changed because of COVID. So over the course of the summer, we started to adjust a little bit what we thought we could get done. And right now we're standing in the coaches' offices, and that's the focus of the fall, of getting that completed. So then next summer when we're doing the locker room, there's an area for us to continue to work and a space to be in. And it's just going to be phenomenal what this project does for the future of our program. And you know, think back of when the Barrie Event Center was built, it was an incredible recruiting advantage for the Wildcats. We're going to be there again with our log. I mean, it's going to be state of the art. It's going to be right to the top of the country, and you know, I can't wait to show that off. So essentially, we're standing in the head coach's office, and this is an area where if you come as a young man and your family's with you, this is where you're going to be offered a scholarship to our program. You know, my desk will be here. There's going to be a dream seats there as a couch, and then in this area here, there's going to be a double door that folds open and closed that you can sit here and I can talk to you about, okay, you're a right wing, you're going to play with Nardi, Loughran, and I see you playing over here. You know, and here's the depth of our program, because the other thing that all players want to do is they want to play with good players. And even more important, they want to play with great players. So when you see the names on the board, it becomes real where you could fit as a player in our program. And you know, this is what this office will be mainly used for, just the kind of the final piece when you're getting to the end to close the deal with a family and an athlete. And then as you kind of go through the rest of the locker room, the way it flows, if you come out and look around the corner, there's an area where we're going to have a workstation with coaches. And you know, a big thing for me is I feel like collaboration on our staff is really important. And you know, having 3 separate offices eliminates the ability to speak to each other, eliminates the ability to just be on your toes. What do you think about this? What do you think about that? So across this way down here, we're going to have workstations for the 3 coaches, and you know, built-ins here. So this is where we're going to do a majority of our work, and then kind of moving into like our practice planning, game planning, pre-scouting is this area here where we're going to have a big conference table, some big TVs on the walls, you know, whiteboards over there. So we'll have, you know, the ability to have a lineup on one side. So maybe on this here, you'll have a big table here. Here's your TV. You know, you'll have lineup. You'll have opponent, you'll have what you want to do for practice today. You might have, you know, power play options, penalty kill options. So this whole board, this whole wall is going to be a whiteboard. So we have the ability to continue to look at what we're trying to do and then compare that with what we see in the video. You know, so this area is kind of going to be, you know, you hear people talking about a war room. I can see us really being around this table quite a bit, spending a lot of time here. And then when you move back into this coaches area, this is where we're going to get prepared and dressed for practice. There's going to be a stall here and then stalls along the sides, which are all going to be replicas of what the players have in their locker room. So an area for us, you know, to get ready for practice, hang our coats up for game days, you know, and just kind of sitting here and talk practice. And we'll have the ability to have a board in here just if there's some final things to talk about. So, you know, this space is just it's just such an incredible use of area in the Barrie Event Center. And for the coaches, it's going to be so nice to just have all this technology at our fingertips and have the ability to be together all the time, because I feel that's really important as a staff, continue to grow the cohesiveness of your group.
All right. Jump back on. I think hopefully everybody can still hear me. Thank you, Kylie. And so just a reminder, if you missed the Arts and Athletics Showcase, you can go out and find that video in its entirety with that clip included on YouTube if you just search the NMU Arts and Athletics Showcase. So that gave us a great behind the scenes preview of what's to come. That was the coaches suite. So I'll let you talk. Obviously you talked a lot about the project in that clip, but do you have anything to add?
So much. You talk about what excites me. That excites me just to tears, because first of all, Jess, you, Mike Nelson, obviously Brad Canali, the ability that you guys have to work with people and show our vision is just incredible. And I'll get to the locker room in a second, but here's what college hockey's become. So you bring a family through, and when Coach Conley built the Barrie Event Center, he had such good forthright thought that there's so much space here that, we're not knocking down walls. We're using the pre-existing space and we're just updating it. But it's been 20 years. It needs to be updated. And you bring a family through, they almost correlate the professionalism of your program with your locker room. And it sounds crazy, I know it. But now we are going to be at the top of the heap when this thing is done. I'm just so excited about it.
I know. And so I just want to make sure we thank some of the donors who have come in on the project so far. We have a special treat for the donors in a minute. But we are so appreciative of all the help and support that we've gotten for this privately funded project. We're so excited about it. And that is obviously, I know, Grant, you're understanding it in the reason I love my job and do what I do is to be able to connect with really great people who want to invest in programs like yours, invest in the future of these student athletes, and really help NMU excel both on the ice and off. And so it's really fun when you get to work with a group, and really it becomes a whole team outside of your team that are helping you along the way.
It's been so fun. So many donors have been local people that have been so supportive. There's been alumni that have been so supportive, and now we're kind of putting the finishing touches on it. And one of the cool things that I think that we've done is putting that plaque in the stall that we're selling to donors, and we're selling this. You can buy a locker, and anytime for the rest of the program, when that player, whoever he is, sits in that stall, he is going to see your family's name behind him. And he is going to know that your family and your family and my family and your family and your family are all part of Wildcat hockey, part of building this tradition, part of building this program. And as a player, when you sit in that room, obviously coming out and playing in front of our great fans is incredible. Obviously, our community is incredible. But there's a little bit extra when you're sitting in there and there's somebody's name in that stall that they have put their support behind the person in that stall, and that happens to be you. And it's just such a cool feeling. And we have some lockers left that we're still the finishing touches on. And I'm so excited about the locker room that I know this. Walking through here, and someday when we're all old and somebody else is coaching this team, I'll be able to come here with my family and bring a donor around and say, remember that time that we bought that locker? Well, there's your name still, and it's still in there. And I just think that's super cool.
Yep. And if you're interested in learning more about the locker room project, you can contact us at the NMU Foundation. That's my little pitch. I want to share one video that we did create for the donors who have helped us on this project so far. I don't even think Grant has seen this, so I need to share my screen once more here. All right. We're getting so fancy. And the student athletes you will see in this video are Garrett Klee, Joe Nardi, and Connor Merritt. Okay. Can you see that?
Yep.
The new room is a great selling point for all newcomers coming in, and it's a great place to hang out and be with the guys.
I think it just shows what a first-class organization it is here, and that's just going to be a good representation of what we represent here at the school and the community.
Yeah, and especially the locker room, the lounge. I mean, becomes a second home to us. So the fact that we have this place now means a lot to us, and definitely going to take advantage of this.
I just want to say thanks for all your support and putting in the locker room for us. It means a lot. We're going to do our best on the ice to support it.
Yeah, this wouldn't have happened without the donors. So much thanks goes to them, and thanks for allowing us to have this great room.
We appreciate all you, and thank you from the whole Wildcat family.
All right.
And just the thing like that's so real for them too. Like that's, as an athlete, you know, knowing what's coming and being able to be part of that. And even Garrett touched on, you know, just the professionalism of our program. And this is kind of the last piece for us. This is the last thing that we needed to do. And then the governor's off. There's nothing stopping us. And, you know, it's such a cool thing for coaches, athletes, fans, people in the community. It's going to be outstanding.
Definitely. All right, so I feel like you've kind of touched on it and said it, but we'll let you have one last message also for the Wildcat hockey fans near and far. What do you want to leave everybody with?
Well, I think first, we understand, you know, that there's going to be some angst about, you know, because of how much support we've gotten. And I mean, if you look at my background, I mean, like the amount of coaches that could say that they have the background of this are so few and far between, and they would die to have this support. We know you want to be in the rink. We're going to get it figured out. It's coming, but I mean, even like doing player meetings right now, we have freshmen coming through, and they just can't even believe the amount of support that this team gets from this community. You know, whether they see people at a grocery store, they're with one of the, I mean, they're with an older guy who's got a mask on that somebody from the grocery store can recognize them and say whatever about how, like, it just blows these guys' minds. You know, and I just want you to know we never take it for granted. We appreciate all your support, and we're looking forward to playing in front of you soon.
Awesome. Any final questions for Grant before he signs off? I'll give people a minute to type quickly. Thank you, Grant, so much for being with us tonight and helping us kick off this digital event series for the alumni and friends of NMU. All right, with no further questions that I'm seeing, we'll let Grant sign off. Thank you so much, Grant.
Thanks, Jess. Okay.
Bye. All right, and I'm going to share my screen one final time to go back to our save the date moment of life to talk about what's coming up next. Okay. All right, so thank you, everybody. Thanks so much for being on tonight. Again, hopefully you can see what's on the screen. If not, I'll talk you through it. We have 2 more of these events coming up, digital events coming up in the next 2 months. We have one on November 11th with Dr. Frederick Nelson. Some of us call him Fritz Nelson. Great person, and he is going to talk about, I think I heard maybe the rumor of permafrost. Very exciting, but he's a great guy and can really hold your attention, I promise. So that'll be a fun one to sign on for. And then on December 9th, we will be learning about holiday cooking, maybe what to do with holiday leftovers with our new executive chef, Chef Alden Griffiths, also an alum. So excited to have her sharing and online with us in December. I had so much fun with everybody tonight. Thank you so much. Thank you for asking questions. Thank you for taking part in this event. And remember to follow the NMU Alumni Association on your social media channels. Have a great night, and I am signing off. Goodbye from Jess Jones. See ya.